Here's a question most Americans never ask. What if looking rich is the exact reason you're not getting rich? The shocking truth is that many future millionaires look completely ordinary. And once you see why, you'll never look at money the same way again. Looking poor is a superpower. Why visible wealth often destroys real wealth. Most people think wealth has a look, a luxury SUV, a big house, a designer watch, a high-end neighborhood. From a distance, those things seem like proof of financial success. But in America today, that assumption is often wrong. The biggest financial mistake many people make is confusing income with wealth. And those two things are not the same. A person can earn $250,000 a year and still have very little wealth. Another person can earn $90,000 a year and quietly build a seven-figure net worth. The difference is not what comes in. The difference is what stays. Think about it this way. Your paycheck is cash flow. Your net worth is ownership. One shows how much money passes through your hands. The other shows how much money actually belongs to you. Most Americans spend years trying to increase their income. Very few spend the same energy protecting what they keep. That is where the problem begins. Every raise creates a temptation. A better car, a bigger home, more expensive vacations, a nicer zip code. None of these purchases feel dangerous. They feel deserved. That's exactly why they're powerful. The danger isn't usually one huge financial mistake. The danger is a series of upgrades that slowly become permanent monthly obligations. A higher car payment, higher insurance, higher property taxes, higher maintenance costs, higher expectations. Eventually, the lifestyle starts consuming the income that created it. This is why some high earners feel broke, not because they earn too little, because their spending grows at the same speed as their income. The result is a cycle that looks successful from the outside, but feels stressful on the inside. And here's something most people never realize. The moment you start spending money to impress people, you quietly hand control of your financial life to other people's opinions. Now your decisions are no longer based on what improves your future. They're based on what looks successful today. That is an expensive trade, especially in the United States where social comparison is everywhere. Social media, neighborhoods, workplace culture, friend groups. Everyone is broadcasting highlights. Very few are showing account balances. Very few are showing debt. Very few are showing financial stress. Because of that, many people start competing in a game they can never win. There will always be someone with a newer car, a larger home, a more expensive vacation, a higher income. The finish line keeps moving, and every time it moves, the cost gets higher. The people who eventually build serious wealth understand something different. They stop trying to look rich. They focus on becoming rich. Those are completely different goals. One requires spending. The other requires ownership. One creates attention. The other creates freedom. And freedom, not attention, is the real purpose of money. The wealthiest person in the room is often the person nobody notices, not because they can't afford luxury, because they no longer need luxury to prove anything. That mindset is where real wealth begins. Key lesson of part 1. Looking rich buys attention. Looking poor buys options. And over a lifetime, options are worth far more than attention. Now that you understand the trap, the next question is obvious. How do you escape it? The answer is surprisingly simple. Not easy, but simple. You stop optimizing for appearance and start optimizing for ownership. Most people spend years trying to make their lifestyle look expensive. The people who build wealth spend years making their balance sheets stronger. Those are two completely different games, and only one of them leads to financial freedom. Step 1. Make raises invisible. One of the biggest wealth-building advantages in America is not earning more money. It's keeping more of every raise. Most people get a raise and immediately upgrade something. A newer vehicle, a larger apartment, a more expensive neighborhood, a bigger monthly payment. The raise disappears. Instead, do the opposite. When your income increases, keep your lifestyle exactly where it is for at least 12 months. Let the extra income flow directly into investments. A raise should improve your net worth before it improves your lifestyle. This single habit creates an enormous advantage over time. Step 2. Buy assets before upgrading lifestyle. Most Americans buy liabilities first and assets later. The wealthy often reverse that order. Before upgrading your lifestyle, ask, what asset will pay for this? Want a nicer car? Build the investment account first. Want a bigger home? Increase your investment portfolio first. Want luxury later? Create cash-producing assets first. This changes everything. Instead of asking, can I afford the payment? You begin asking, can my investments support this without hurting my future? That's how financially free people think. Step 3. Stop measuring success with visible purchases. A luxury vehicle is visible. Paid-off mortgage is not. A designer watch is visible. A growing investment account is not. A first-class flight is visible. Financial independence is not. The problem is that society rewards visible signals. Real wealth rewards invisible progress. That's why many wealthy Americans drive ordinary vehicles, not because they can't afford more, because they understand a powerful truth. Every dollar spent showing wealth is a dollar that can no longer build wealth. Step 4. Automate everything. Most financial plans fail because they depend on motivation. Motivation changes, systems don't. The easiest way to build wealth is to remove decisions. Set up automatic investing, automatic retirement contributions, automatic transfers to savings, automatic brokerage deposits. The less money sits in your checking account, the less likely it is to be spent. Automation turns good intentions into actual results, and results are what matter. Step 5. Learn the freedom test. Before any major purchase, ask one question. Will this increase my freedom or reduce it? A larger mortgage? Less freedom. A higher car payment? Less freedom. More consumer debt? Less freedom. An investment that generates future income? More freedom. Additional savings? More freedom. Every financial decision moves you in one of two directions, toward freedom or away from it. The problem is that many purchases feel like freedom in the moment, while actually creating future obligations. The payment stays long after the excitement disappears. Step 6. Build stealth wealth. The most financially secure people often look surprisingly ordinary. They don't need external validation. They don't need constant upgrades. They don't need strangers to know they're successful. Their confidence comes from ownership, not appearance. That's why many future millionaires spend years looking financially average, while others spend years trying to look financially exceptional. One group is building assets, the other group is building expenses, and eventually the gap becomes impossible to ignore. A real American example. Imagine two co-workers. Both earn $120,000 per year. The first buys a luxury SUV with a large monthly payment. The second drives a reliable used vehicle and invests the difference every month into low-cost index funds. 5 years later, they look similar. 10 years later, the gap becomes noticeable. 20 years later, the difference is life-changing. Because wealth isn't built by one giant decision, it's built by hundreds of small decisions repeated consistently. The people who appear rich today are not always the people who will be rich tomorrow. Key lesson of Part 2. Stop asking, how can I look successful? Start asking, how can I own more of my future? Because every dollar has a job. It can either impress people today or create freedom tomorrow. And freedom is almost always the better investment. what to do today and the final lesson. At this point, you might be thinking, okay, I understand the idea. Looking rich doesn't automatically mean being rich. But what should I actually do starting today? That's the right question, because financial freedom is not built through information, it's built through action. And the good news is that you don't need to completely change your life overnight. You only need to start making decisions differently. Action number 1. Calculate your real wealth number. Most people know their income. Very few know their net worth. That's a problem, because income tells you how much money comes in. Net worth tells you whether you're actually moving forward. Today, write down total cash savings, investment accounts, retirement accounts, home equity if applicable, then subtract credit card debt, auto loans, personal loans, student loans, other liabilities. What remains is your true financial scoreboard, not your salary, not your job title, not your neighborhood, not your vehicle. Your net worth tells the truth. Action number 2. Find the largest leak in your tank. Most people don't have 10 major financial problems. They usually have 1 or 2. Look at your monthly spending. Ask yourself, what is the biggest expense I'm paying for mainly to impress other people? Be honest. Maybe it's the vehicle. Maybe it's the apartment. Maybe it's luxury shopping. Maybe it's lifestyle spending that no longer makes you happier. You don't have to eliminate it immediately. Just identify it, because you can't fix a leak you refuse to see. Action number 3. Redirect one payment toward building assets. This is where real change begins. Choose one recurring expense, then redirect part of that money toward building assets. Maybe it's investing in an S&P 500 index fund, increasing retirement contributions, building an emergency fund, paying down high-interest debt. The amount doesn't matter as much as the habit. A person who consistently buys assets eventually gains freedom. A person who consistently buys liabilities eventually gains obligations. The direction matters more than the speed. Action number 4. Create your enough number. This step changes everything. Most people never define enough, so they spend their entire lives chasing more. A bigger house, a nicer car, a higher salary, a better status symbol. The target keeps moving, and because the target keeps moving, satisfaction never arrives. Instead, ask yourself, what does enough actually look like for me? How much house? How much car? How much income? How much lifestyle? Without a clear definition of enough, you'll spend decades running toward a finish line that doesn't exist. Action number 5. Ignore the wrong scoreboard. Social media is filled with visible success, luxury vacations, expensive vehicles, big homes, designer brands. But remember, you are seeing spending, not balance sheets. You're seeing purchases. You are not seeing debt. You are not seeing financial stress. You are not seeing missed investment opportunities. The people who quietly become wealthy often look boring from the outside. That's exactly why they're succeeding, because they are focused on ownership, not attention. The final lesson most people learn too late. Imagine 2 people reaching age 65. The first spent decades proving success. The second spent decades building freedom. The first has stories about things they owned. The second has options. Options to retire. Options to travel. Options to help family. Options to walk away from work. Options to live life on their own terms. And in the end, that's what wealth was always supposed to provide. Not admiration, not status, not attention. Freedom. Because freedom is the highest return money can produce. Final takeaway. The biggest financial mistake isn't spending money. It's spending money to look like you have money. That's the trap. The people who become truly wealthy understand something most people never do. Looking rich and being rich are often opposite strategies. One consumes wealth, the other creates it. So the next time you're tempted to upgrade something visible, pause for a moment and ask yourself, am I buying a signal or am I building freedom? That single question can change the direction of your financial future. And once you understand that, looking poor stops feeling like sacrifice. It starts feeling like power.
Your support motivates us. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.